Tonight, D-Day, Cyclone Debbie crosses the coast. How Bowen cope with a Category 4 storm. Proserpine takes a beating. And Mackay faces a dangerous storm surge.
Live across Mackay, the Whitsundays and the coalfields, this is 7 News with Rob Bruff.
Good evening. Thanks very much for joining us. Tropical Cyclone Debbie has finally rumbled onto the Queensland coast, making landfall near Early Beach around midday. The system intensified overnight, growing to a Category 4 storm when it hit. The slow-moving system is now a Category 3, but is still powering inland tonight, with destructive winds of more than 250 kilometres an hour in some parts. There are widespread power cuts across Mackay and other regions, and authorities warn that danger is expected to last for several days. Our reporters have been covering Debbie's progress from Ayr to Mackay and the Whitsunday Islands. Lauren Mara begins tonight's coverage.
Tropical Queensland beautiful one day, devastated the next. After days of watching and waiting, Debbie finally arrived, turning holidays into hell. Her anger was a slow burn, which made conditions all the more dangerous. On Hamilton Island, palm trees struggled to stay upright. Doors and windows in deserted hotels were no match. Rain fell in sheets so heavy it blacked out normally pristine views. Guests choosing to stay on Haymond Island became prisoners in their rooms.
Please stay in your rooms. We are actually passing through the centre of the cyclone.
The jetty on Daydream was smashed like matchsticks as hotel guests filmed once-in-a-lifetime memories. Early Beach wasn't spared. By 6 a.m, wind gusts of 90 k's an hour pounded the tourist town. As Debbie spiralled closer to land, boats broke from their moorings and heavy rain caused flash flooding inside homes. Mackay lay at the southern end of the warning zone. The wind here in Mackay was so intense before the cyclone it was enough to uproot this massive tree in the CBD hours before the system even reached landfall. Thankfully, storm surge fears were quashed just after the 11 a.m. high tide, and there was only minor flooding. Lauren Mara, 7 News.
A Proserpine man has been taken to hospital after a wall collapsed at the height of the cyclone's fury this afternoon. The Whitsundays bore the brunt of the system, with the destructive core passing 15 kilometres north of Early Beach. Tracy Smith has more.
Cyclone Debbie made her presence felt at dawn in the Whitsundays. The islands were the first to feel her wrath. The normally bustling Early Beach was an eerie ghost town of debris-covered streets. Shop and road signs already littered the pavement. As the system edged closer to the mainland, destructive winds picked up at the marina. One unlucky boat owner's pride and joy broke free. Those who decided to stay put in Wilson's Beach paid the price.
And this is the ocean.
Hours later, the water continued to rise.
Everything's floating. We're probably going to get a crocodile in here.
Power was cut to more than 30,000 homes across the Whitsundays.
Just before 7 o'clock this morning, Hamilton Island received wind gusts of almost 200 kilometres an hour.
That reached an unprecedented 263 kilometres at 10:25 a.m. Proserpine also felt the force with 165-kilometre winds. A man was reportedly seriously injured by a falling wall, and authorities warn the danger could linger for days.
Please stay at home, start to clean up your own area, but leave the roads and those other tasks to the emergency services personnel.
Certainly a wedding to remember for these island newlyweds who exchanged vows just 2 days before Debbie arrived.
We didn't think we'd beat a cyclone, but it wasn't going to stop us, though.
No, that's right. Nothing will stop us.
Tracy Smith, 7 News.
Bowen was also in the path of the cyclone. As Amelia Adams reports, the town faces a lengthy recovery.
Nothing could prepare Bowen for this. Tin was tossed into the air. Part of the bowling club's roof flew away. 60 people were huddled inside. 49 of them were elderly.
Homes without power. We have major trees down. We are hearing reports of some quite severe structural damage.
Debbie had dawdled off the coast and gained extraordinary momentum before tracking inland towards the small coastal community. Those who chose to remain at home bunkered down as best they could.
Yeah, we all pitched in. We've tied everything down, put everything away. Did all that we could before the cyclone sort of came across the coast.
Residents who have been through it all before say Debbie was by far the most ferocious.
Yeah, it is getting a bit scary.
This time is different. I think it is going to be a fair bit of damage there. You know, just the way the winds are blowing at the moment.
Those destructive winds lashed parts of the town, uprooting palms. The airport recorded gales of 148 kilometres per hour just before 2:30.
We know the Bowen radar has fallen over. It's not operating anymore, but we are still tracking the cyclone with the Mackay and Townsville radars.
The wind gusts are expected to continue around the area for the next 4 to 6 hours.
You see people's verandas and stuff starting to blow off, so you start to worry about other people, I guess.
There are widespread power outages across Bowen. Ergon says it will have crews on the ground as soon as it's safe.
All the agencies are doing everything they possibly can, but our emergency services personnel cannot go out onto the roads at the moment due to the dangerous conditions.
Now there's more anxiety for residents as they wait to survey the damage. Amelia Adam, 7 News.
Trees have been uprooted and thousands of homes are without power after Cyclone Debbie unleashed her fury here in Mackay this afternoon. The region has been spared from widespread flooding, but the devastation is still widespread.
Powerful swells slammed the Mackay Harbour's breakwall. Amazingly, people still dared to venture out. At Slade Point, walls of seawater surged onto roads. Waterside streets were inundated.
I've never been through this sort of thing before.
Fears of a tidal surge didn't faze some, despite warnings from Mackay Regional Council to head for higher ground.
We've seen this about 2013 and it did about the same thing, so we just opted to stay here.
Others didn't take that chance. 21,000 were warned to evacuate. Blacks Beach resident Bruce Cochran spent a sleepless night at the cyclone shelter in North Mackay.
They rang up and told us to get out. So you do as you're told, eh?
It was an even longer day as Debbie took her time moving towards the coast. Her delayed arrival spared Mackay from a disastrous storm surge. Instead, high tide came as Debbie hovered off the Whitsunday coastline.
If it had stayed on its track, we would have been in a much worse condition today, particularly with a high tide at 10 to 11 today of 5.9 metres.
As Debbie crossed the coastline around 1 this afternoon, Mackay felt her force. Rain pelted down and wind gusts of nearly 100 kilometres shook trees and brought down power lines.
26,000 people have lost power in the Mackay region. Residents are now being told to prepare for more rain in the next 24 hours.
As the aftermath of Cyclone Debbie continues and the damage is assessed. Georgia Terry, 7 News.
Thanks, Georgia. 7 News meteorologist Livia Regano joins us now for an update on Cyclone Debbie's movements.
Thanks, Rob. Well, it certainly has been a very hectic 24 hours for the Whitsunday coast. The Bureau's done a pretty good job, you'd have to say, of forecasting the path. It did come a little bit further south, which was worse for us, but the eye officially went over Airlie Beach around midday today. But of course, prior to that, we got the strongest wind gust ever recorded in Queensland as the eye went over Hamilton Island. That's 263 kilometres an hour. Of course, it's since made landfall, but the warning is still current. We've had falls in excess, by the looks of it, of 500 millimetres in the last 24 hours, and there'll be more, of course. As the cyclone begins to track inland, it'll slowly cascade down through to categories, but tomorrow morning it will still be a cyclone. It won't be a rain depression probably until a bit later on. As that happens, it'll carry the heavy rain inland. Central highlands and coalfields, we expect we'll get some good falls out of this system. There'll still be destructive winds, of course, so please heed the warning. Just because the cyclone has crossed the coast does not mean it's all over. And of course, once the ex-cyclone does a dogleg and begins to head towards the Capricorn coast, things should be a bit safer for us. Back to you, Rob.
Thanks very much, Liv. And of course, Liv will have a little more for us later in the bulletin. We'll take a break in a moment. Disaster assistance on offer for cyclone-battered residents and more help on the way as our region moves into clean-up mode. Nice having you with us on 7 News. Now, just to recap on Cyclone Debbie, one person is believed to have been injured in a wall collapse in Proserpine, while a motorist was reportedly stranded in the middle of a storm near Bowen. As Liv mentioned, the Category 4 system passed over the Whitsunday Islands with gusts of up to 263 kilometres an hour, the strongest winds recorded yet in Queensland. Debbie made landfall just before midday near Airlie Beach. Tens of thousands of homes remain without power, and authorities warn the danger could last for several days. The Insurance Council of Australia has declared Cyclone Debbie a catastrophic event, allowing affected householders to apply for disaster assistance. Reporter Josie Fielding has the details.
Rob, the Mackay Local Disaster Management Group has just finished its meeting to discuss a plan of action for recovery and clean-up.
Mackay Mayor Greg Williamson was joined by emergency service and SES personnel in council chambers to address concerns for people in the region. Tonight, 26,000 homes and businesses remain without power.
Ergon have assured us in the meeting that we've just had that they are going to escalate to the connection.
While the SES has received more than 40 calls since midnight last night, but have been prevented from helping.
Until these conditions do abate, it is dangerous for our staff to be out there, but we will be out there as soon as we can.
Debris is scattered across roads, and with council workers unable to start the clean-up, people are being urged not to venture outside if they don't have to.
If there's no need to go out and it's not urgent, please stay inside. Don't drive around, don't walk around the streets, just purely to have a look.
The QAS have also received a number of calls from people who have been injured in the cyclone.
Mainly to people slipping over on wet surfaces, or one gentleman was blown over by the wind.
So, Rob, it's certainly a big clean-up job facing the region in the weeks and even months ahead.
Thank you very much, Josie. Josie Fielding reporting there. Now, our disaster management crews have swung into action as the cyclone moves west. Schools and many businesses are closed, while the SES prepares to respond to flooding emergencies.
The battering our region copped overnight and today is being watched nationwide. SES crews are travelling from other regions, including the southeast corner.
SES members across the state have been organising themselves for the potential for deployment up north.
Locally, SES depots are stocked with sandbags. If you need non-life-threatening help, call 13 25 00. A full list of where sandbags are available in the Mackay region can be found on Council's website. Swiftwater rescue teams are also in place preparing for flood emergencies. Schools across the region are closed. For updates, visit the Education Department's website. CQU's Mackay campuses will remain closed tomorrow. Mackay Base Hospital has put out a call for staff to relieve fatigued colleagues. Many roads in the firing line of the storm have been flooded or are likely to be over the next few days. For information, contact 13 19 40. Council's disaster coordination centres are active. Mackay Regional Council can be contacted on 1300 Mackay or on the website. Whitsunday Regional Council is available on 1300 972 006 or online. And Isaac Council can be reached on 1300 133 773, where the Disaster Coordination Centre has been activated. Katie Toney, 7 News.
And that wraps up today's special coverage of Cyclone Debbie. Time to get into the sport now. Luke, Cowboys are welcoming some big names back, mate.
Yeah, that's right, Rob. 2 are set to return against South Sydney. We'll have more on the Cowboys next as Keisha Close prepares for her National Surf Lifesaving Titles debut.